Nightly greetings, one and all. William Theo here, homegrown and happy to be bringing you developments unfolding of late all over the planet. And tonight we begin with, after winding up empty-handed in his Washington, D.C. trip to convince GOP lawmakers for more funding in Ukraine's war against Russia, Ukrainian Chief Vladimir Zelenskyy wasted no time to hop on his private plane for his next stop, Scandinavia. His plane landed earlier in the first leg of the trip, the Norwegian capital of Oslo. The Ukrainian head of state is up for a huddle with the leaders of the 5 Nordic countries who are among the top donors to Ukraine in its tiff with Russia. Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre expressed goodwill and warmth to Zelenskyy, assuring him of Norway's continued support in its resistance against Russia and its crusade for freedom and democracy. Since October 17, Iranian proxies have carried out at least 90 attacks against U.S. forces, clearly indicating how other Arab countries are clearly on the side of the Palestinians. And GOP legislators in Congress are hitting on U.S. President Joe Biden for being too soft against Iran and her allies. VOA's congressional correspondent Catherine G. Gibson tells us more.
Just days after Iranian-backed Houthi rebels attacked the U.S. in the Red Sea, Iran's foreign minister warning the U.S. over its policy in Gaza Tuesday.
An uncontrollable and unpredictable explosion could take place at any time. This is what the Americans haven't realized until today. And if they don't realize it soon, the consequences will strongly affect the United States.
On Capitol Hill, Republican lawmakers saying the Biden administration's policies have encouraged Iranian aggression.
Iran has been emboldened to throw its weight around the Middle East from Yemen to Gaza, with it or its proxies directly attacking U.S. military sites and warships, essentially without consequence.
Republicans criticized the Biden administration's deal to unfreeze $6 billion in assets earlier this year in return for the release of 5 hostages.
When this government releases money to Iran or relaxes the enforcement of sanctions, it is funding the very terror operations directed against the Iranian people, the people of Israel, and someday soon, I am afraid, against the people of the United States.
The No Funds for Iranian Terrorism Act, freezing that $6 billion transfer, passed with bipartisan support in the U.S. House.
If, God forbid, Iran gets an advantage, the government gets an advantage by seizing an American hostage, after those hostages are released, we should try to take away the advantage they got. This is not a legitimate deal when Americans are held hostage.
Lawmakers said protests led by Iranian women show that regime change will ultimately come from within the country.
The women of Iran in particular need to be called out for their bravery, for their vision, and for their willingness to stand up for not only their future, but for freedom of every Iranian.
U.S. lawmakers reintroduced H.R. 100 on Tuesday, expressing the U.S. Congress's support for a democratic, secular, and non-nuclear Iran. Catherine Gibson, VOA News.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the hawks in his cabinet have been called out by President Joe Biden as he expressed frustration on Israel's carpet bombing and scorched earth policy in the city of Gaza. Even worse, a United Nations plenary resolution condemns Israel's continued mass slaughter of innocent civilians in Gaza in a 153-10 vote, calling for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire in the condemned city. The Philippine government among the 153 critics of Israel's indiscriminate bombing. VOA's White House Bureau Chief Patsy Widaskawara tells us more.
Another market destroyed in Gaza, this one in the Jabalia refugee camp. The level of civilian casualties is making U.S. President Joe Biden increasingly concerned.
We have made it clear to the Israelis, and are aware, that the safety of innocent Palestinians is still of great concern. And so the actions they're taking must be consistent with attempting to do everything possible to prevent innocent Palestinian civilians from being hurt, murdered, killed, lost, etc.
Israel is losing international support over its indiscriminate bombings, Biden said during a campaign appearance earlier Tuesday, his sharpest public criticism. According to a White House transcript, he said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu needs to change his coalition and empower the Palestinian Authority to become a partner in the peace process. He singled out Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who opposes a two-state solution. Biden's comments came as 153 countries voted overwhelmingly in support of a UN resolution demanding a ceasefire. 10 countries opposed the measure, while 23 abstained.
Our duty is to try to save the lives who are still alive by having this resolution adopted and by forcing Israel to comply with it, and those who are shielding Israel to comply with the global consensus.
The vote followed a similar UN Security Council resolution Friday that failed due to a U.S. veto, a position that critics say damages Washington's interests beyond the Middle East.
But also where we are arguing, for example, in the United Nations to gain the support of the Global South for our condemnations, our just condemnations of Russia's abhorrent invasion of Ukraine. We are also going to lose votes if we are seen to be hypocritical, if we are seen to be walking away from our values.
General Assembly resolutions are non-binding but carry political weight.
UN officials, the majority of UN member states, are simply looking for every means possible to create a sense of moral pressure on the US to change its posture.
Israel and its supporters say a ceasefire will only benefit Hamas, allowing them to regroup for future attacks on Israel.
It's allowing Hamas to have a legitimacy that it hasn't earned. It's giving trust to terrorist leaders who have proven unequivocally that they are not trustworthy.
Following Hamas' October 7 attacks in Israel that killed at least 1,200, responding strikes by Israel in Gaza have killed more than 18,000 people by Palestinian count in the bloodiest campaign of the decades-long conflict. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News.
And at this juncture, we turn to our colleague in PTV's Pine City studios for the last developments brewing in the Cordilleras.
Daing pagkarabii Pilipinas, may isa ni Baguio City Councilor Arthur Alat-Iu kada iti awardees ti 2023 Gawad Karapatang Pantao ti Commission on Human Rights. Inyawid ni Alat-Iu ti pamigbig agawad gabay karapatan. Nabigbig ti konsyal, gapo kada iti na isang sangayan na programa ken proyekto na para iti panakaisakad ti human rights iti syudad ti Baguio. Karaman kada iti insakad na ti resolusyon para iti panakaideklara ti December 10 kas International Human Rights Day iti Baguio City. Ti panakaituloy ti peace talks ti nagbatan iti gobyerno ken iti NDFP ken daddumapay. Pinagyamanan na pay dagiti kakadwanang opisyal ti lokal na gobyerno ti Baguio ken ti pamilyana iti daytoy a baligi a nagud-ud na. Naisayangkat ti awarding ceremony, iti pinaglipas ti 2023 National Human Rights Consciousness Week, EJ Quezon City, iti Domingo.
I wholeheartedly accept this Gawad Gabay Karapatan Award. My hesitation in accepting this award is it would put me more to an expectation geared towards human rights realization and to a higher level for human rights advocacy. But there is no more worthy than the cause on human rights as patronized by the late former Senator Jose Jokno.
Kapayatan na naminsan pa'y anapadayawan ti student organization nga UP Namnama Baguio iti may kawalong edisyon ti International Assembly of Youth for UNESCO anaangay ijay Manila. Ti UP Namnama Baguio ti kaunaan nga accredited na club for UNESCO iti uneg ti University of the Philippines. Itatawan, napadayawan manon ti organisasyon iti kalipas nga International Assembly of Youth for UNESCO ijay Manila. Daytoyon iti may kawalo at taon. Ngag sa saruno ang naawat da iti Outstanding Club for UNESCO Award sipot pa 2015. Ipampanakkel itagdama presidente iti organisasyon ang naawat da iti pamigbig gapo iti nagduduma a programa da. Saan langan a para kada iti estudyante ti Locanjacan Cordillera dagiti programa ti organisasyon. Tisuro at tinawan a programa da. Paspasetan tinasurok sa nga estudyante ti sekundarya iti Sentro Balita. Tapok man iti college-based program arambak ti panakasilibrar dagiti taraon, kultura, ken pakasaritaan dagiti Ilocano. Nabigbigbat lang the Braille when a Braille ken na awi kas outstanding clubs for UNESCO Youth Leaders ita atawan. Dagiti damdamag manipod iti PTV Kodaliera siyak ni Eddie Carta naimbag Arabi.
Thank you, Eddie, and that's a wrap for tonight. We look forward to tomorrow night when we bring you anew the latest breakers the world over. Always keep in mind to work hard, aim high, give thanks, spread the love while you catch the news right here. William Theo wishing you all a restful night ahead, having gotten over the hump.